Yes.
I think you made very convincingly this this point of the symbolic value of.
Yeah, they can't hear. I can see it in their faces.
Alan, I think you made very convincingly the point about the symbolic value of including things like the Dome of St. Peter's or the Tower of the Campidoglio,
right.
And suggesting this connectivity. But to what extent do you think it may also have been a compositional thing for Vasi? Does he leave long, sweeping axes ever unfilled?
No,
or does he feel
not.
a kind of compositional sense to fill those?
I'm sure you're right. It is definitely a compositional aspect of his drawing, of his views. However, I can't think of any, but maybe a few. I can't think of any long views that don't have some element at the end, as I suggested, sort of to draw your eye along the perspective. So certainly compositionally. I mean, he's always thinking compositionally, I think, really. But it also has that connection idea, I'm pretty sure. Good.
Well, Ellen, you can see it in the big patriarchale view up there at Santa Maria Maggiore, as if you could stand at Quattro Fontane and look right down at that wonderful facade. So I look at it sometimes as wishful thinking. It would be nice if it were that close that you could look right at that thing with those horses dancing in front of it. So it's
quite right.
That answer is compositional, isn't it?
Right. Vin is referring to the print that he contributed upstairs. You should take a look at it. That large print looking along via the Quattro Fontane toward Santa Maria Maggiore. And the same thing occurs there. Certainly it is compositional, and wishful thinking is a good way of putting it. John?
But maybe in your scheme, this is also another form of connectivity.
Oh, definitely.
Actually, you said that explicitly with the Sant'Andrea reference.
Right.
I would suggest perhaps it's also true of the Palazzo Borghese example, because if you accept the fact that the view is oriented going towards the river, and you actually see the Borghese Loggia overlooking Porto di Ripetta in that print, well, you walk out there, and it is then, from that point, possible to see the dome. It's a stretch.
It's a stretch.
But perhaps some element
you're right.
operate.
And in those days, there were far fewer interruptions, so you probably could. Yes, I'm sorry.
You.
Well, why don't you not, please, because they can't hear you, and I'd like people to hear the question.
Okay, I have two questions.
God, what have I done?
I don't know. It seems like he sort of knew that he was going to write the Itinerario Instructivo.
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it. I think that's a very, very astute observation.
So you think he did know that it was...
Well, I mean, I think it's part of the same thing, very much part of the same thing.
And my other question is, sometimes, well, many times, or maybe always, you can name the street from going from Monument A to Monument B, or Monument B to Monument A.
Mm-hmm.
So how did he choose? I mean, I can think of 4 possible ways. The order of the planned itinerario, or maybe he just chose whichever he thought was more important, or he chose whichever he had a veduta of, but he probably had a veduta of both of them. Or did he choose somehow depending on some kind of principle of cardinal directions or something like
that? That's a complicated question. No, I wouldn't exclude any of those possibilities. I think in general, he certainly chooses major monuments. That is, every one of these directional captions, not every one, but most of the directional captions lead you to a major monument, emphasizing this connectivity idea. Then let's see, there was another part of the question which I've now lost.
I guess, how did he choose?
How did he choose? Well, I mean, I think he was looking at the Nolli map, right? And seeing the connection, right? I'm sure he used the Nolli map. And seeing the connection visually on the Nolly enabled him simply to say, okay, the street goes from here to there. It's almost a description of what Nolly does two-dimensionally, but he can't show it, so he says it. Right? And all that's in the directional captions. In the visual aspects, he alters things so he can show that connection. It's a voluntary distortion of what's there, so that he can make that connection.
Alan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Yes, you have a good loud voice.
non-academic question, but since we have in one room Ceen, Pinto, and Barry Lockwood, and we have upstairs in one room Piranesi, Panini, and Vasi, how much of this has to do with the company? Who was the first at getting into this thing of moving things around for your own convenience? Like making San Gallicano Street twice the width of it so that you can look at the whole hospital, which you can't do. Is it the beginning with the Capricci that Panini does it, where he moves
I think it
around
goes.
to
I think it's much further back.
or does Piranesi beat him to it?
You find Falda doing exactly the same thing, and
Yeah.
and the purpose is very simple. When they show a street, especially,
Yeah.
if they show the actual width, you wouldn't see much of things on either side. So they open it out like a book almost, right? So that you can see the two sides of the street, and that's a standard convention. I play a trick on my students who, Penn State students who have their studios right next to Santa Maria di Via Lata on the Corso, and show them the Reuben Krull print, which makes the Corso look like a huge piazza. And I ask them to identify that site, and they can't, even though their studio is right next door. And so that idea of this voluntary distortion of that goes really way back, even earlier than Falda.
I might even suggest it goes back to those very earliest kind of idea pictures, those medieval pictures where you have a kind of complete abstraction of Rome, and here's the Pantheon and here's the Colosseum, that abstraction towards an idea.
Right. I think, sorry, I'd love to answer questions.
We'll take one more, and then
Okay. I think Catherine is waiting in the wings. Right.
I'm happy to listen.
Well, I wonder, as a tourist, at what point may there be some record of someone looking at the map and the views and saying, hey, man, there's something wrong here. I can't use this guidebook.
My dear Keith, I think you attribute too much knowledge to the tourist.